Hello, everybody. We'll just wait a minute or two as everybody is being allowed into the meeting here. While we're doing that, I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name's Jeff, and I've got Josh here as well.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
And with that said, you know what? Why don't we just get right into it? So welcome, everybody. We appreciate you joining. We're looking forward to a good conversation tonight. It's going to be a pretty casual and relaxed conversation between Josh and I. And we'd like to talk about everything involved with investing in the Canadian Rockies, your turnkey vacation income property. So a little bit before I get into the agenda, I'm in Ontario. I'm an Ontario realtor who is dual licensed in Alberta as well. This particular webinar was marketed to a lot of Ontario investors, but we also have a lot of Albertan investors as well. So if you are local to the Canmore area, we're going to be talking about some pretty obvious things about Canmore for you. So bear with us on that because we just want to inform our Ontario investors about the area as well. So with that said, we will get right into the agenda. I'll talk a little bit about Josh and myself, about the Bow Valley area, my investment in the Bow Valley, reasons to invest in Alberta. We'll talk about advantages of short-term rental properties, types of zoning in the Bow Valley area, costs of purchasing beyond the purchase price, actual examples of turnkey vacation properties, along with pro forma financials for actually four different buildings and different size properties, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms. We'll also talk about the buying process, forming your investment team of professionals. I'll talk a little bit about upcoming pre-construction opportunities, or one in particular in the Deadman's Flats area, a few featured active listings. Then we'll summarize. And then Josh, being the owner of Rise Co-host Vacation Property Management, he's going to take you through the entire property management process. And then we'll finish off with questions. So we'll take questions at the end. My apologies, I'm a little bit new with the Zoom webinars here. It's been a while since I've done one of these. But you can submit questions in the chat, or I believe there's a Q&A button as well. Yes, I believe it's the chat button there.
Mhm.
Alrighty. So Josh, as I mentioned, he's the owner of Rise Co-host Vacation Property Management, together with his wife, Emma. He's been operating Rise Co-host for over 4 years now. His team includes himself, Emma, Yanni, and there's a few more, but Josh will talk about who else forms part of his team. He manages over 30 properties in the Bow Valley area, including my property. He's gotten over 3,000 five-star reviews on Airbnb. 93% of the total reviews are 5 stars. And he's a full-service turnkey vacation property manager. So I know you're going to talk a little bit about yourself, Josh, later on, but is there anything you wanted to add quickly right now?
I think you summarized that pretty well. And we just ticked over to over 4,000 five-star reviews now between all platforms. So, getting a little bit more experience as years go on.
Very nice. Perfect. And then myself, I'm a realtor with both Keller Williams Home Group Realty in Ontario and also Keller Williams Bold Realty in Alberta. I've been a licensed realtor for almost 12 years, and I help clients with both residential and investment properties. Personally, I've owned properties, or I own properties in Alberta, South Carolina, and Ontario, and I could provide a little bit of experience and my thoughts between Ontario and Alberta. I don't think I'll get into South Carolina today, but I've got a little experience there as well. I do have experience personally with both short-term and long-term rental properties, and of course with clients as well. I am an award-winning producer with Keller Williams. However, to me, the more important part of that is just that I'm very service and results focused for my clients, more focused on my clients than my own results. And with that, I build my business based on referrals. So we'll talk a little bit about the Bow Valley area. For those in Ontario, of course, if you're in Alberta, bear with us here. But for those in Ontario who haven't visited the Bow Valley area in a long time or haven't at all, it consists of Banff, Lake Louise, Canmore, the municipal district of Bighorn, which includes Deadman's Flats and Harvey Heights. So to get to Deadman's Flats from Calgary Airport, you're about 1 hour. To get to Canmore, you're about an hour and 10 minutes. To Banff, about an hour and a half, depending on the day. It's within the Canadian Rocky Mountains. It includes Banff National Park and Kananaskis Country, and it's connected by the Trans-Canada Highway and the Bow Valley Parkway. And really, it's Canada's playground for sightseeing, wildlife, hiking, biking, skiing. Those are my favorite things. I'll just mention a couple of my favorites. So in Banff, you've got Sulphur Mountain. You could hike it up, take the gondola down, or you could gondola both up and down. It's a relatively easy summit hike out in Alberta. If you want to get a little more challenging in Canmore, there's also Howling. There's the east end of Rundle, which is even more challenging as you scramble your way up to the top. So some of those are some of my favorites. There's a lot of great biking. There's the Canmore Nordic Center, which is amazing for cross-country skiing and biking. Josh, anything else that you wanted to add with the area? What are your favorites?
Yeah, so going in the hikes, I could talk about it for a long time, but a few of my favorites around the area are going to be some of the ridge hikes. If you ever find yourself in Kananaskis Country, going up the Spray Lakes Road into Tint Ridge, it's a good 8 to 10 hour hike, but you're on a ridge with beautiful panoramic views of the Spray Lakes the whole entire time. And then a little bit closer to Deadman's Flats, you got Heart Mountain, which is another nice horseshoe ridge hike at the top. But I could talk about hiking, biking, and restaurants for a long time, but I think we should get into the nuts and bolts of the investment side.
Sounds great. Okay, so as a preface, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own investment in the Bow Valley area. So my wife and I just recently invested in a condo in Deadman's Flats. Our goal was to use this opportunity to build wealth and enjoy our own vacation home in the mountains. We both absolutely love it out there. I spent some time when I graduated university living out in Canmore, spent a lot of vacation trips out there since then, and now we're proud investors in the area as well. Uh, like I said, I purchased in Deadman's Flats. We've got a one-bedroom unit in Sparrowhawk Lodge. It was newly built in 2024. It's zoned for visitor accommodation. So I'll talk a little bit more about the zoning later on in the presentation. As mentioned, Deadman's Flats is about an hour to Calgary, from Calgary, about 8 minutes to the downtown core of Canmore, or the town center. About 3 to 5 minutes away from the Three Sisters area, where there's some new development going in and a grocery store and everything. And we're about 25 minutes to Banff. There's some top tier amenities, including there's an outdoor year-round pool, there's a year-round hot tub, an absolutely amazing gym. It's a very quiet location with trails, views. There's an outdoor hockey rink and basketball court, campsite right beside the condo, and it's right by the Bow River as well. So it's close to everything, but it's very quiet and peaceful. So now that we're seeing success in this, and we've got a great property manager in Josh running the property for us, I want to help others invest in the beautiful Bow Valley area. So some of the reasons to invest in Alberta, Alberta in general, is that it's a strong tourism market and business travel demand as well. There's favorable short-term rental regulations, and I preface that with in specific areas and zones. There's lower closing costs in Ontario. So for the Ontario investors, you know that there's land transfer tax. In Alberta, there's closing title registration, but not the land transfer tax like there is in Ontario. There is purpose-built short-term rental resorts and buildings like the one that we've invested in Deadman's Flats. There is year-round demand. Of course, that there is peak season. We're just heading into the peak season right now, but it does rent out all 4 seasons. There's strong rental yields and high nightly rates. And it's a great way of diversifying your investments. So if you have some long-term rentals, adding a short-term rental property or two can certainly help the investment portfolio. And if you invest in different areas, you can enjoy the rental properties and get out and vacation in different areas as well. There's limited supply in the Canmore area. So was watching a video with Mayor Sean Krausert. I think he did it late last year, and he was talking about there's only enough land for about 1,300 more homes in Canmore. So it's really limited to its expansion. So less competition out there for short-term rental investors in the long term. And it's a great way to build wealth and enjoy your lifestyle investment. So get into a couple of stats about why invest in the Canmore area. So AirDNA rates Canmore with an 84 market score, which is a great market score. Josh, do you want to just add in for those who don't know what AirDNA is or Airbitics?
For sure, AirDNA and other online softwares like this, essentially what they're going to do is go on Airbnb, VRBO, and they're going to scrub a lot of data. Data is going to include average nightly rates, occupancy, the number of properties and in the area, etc., and how much it's growing, and the year-on-year improvements in that. So essentially, it's going to scrub this data down, and with that 84 market score, it's going to just kind of pump you out sort of a generic. Seems to be a good investment area by showing strong average nightly rates, strong occupancies, and not too much competition. So yeah, it's about scrubbing the data from on these online channels for booking, just giving it to investors or property managers alike to give it in a nice condensed view.
Yeah, perfect. So thanks for adding that in. And just to finish off, like I said, there's limited remaining land for housing and increased supply. There are permitted zones specifically for short-term rentals. Talked about the year-round revenue, and then just the proximity to Banff, the shopping, the restaurants, the vibrant community, and the natural beauty of the area lends itself as a great place to invest. There's steadily increasing tourism, currently attracting both loyal Canadians who want to stay in Canada and keep their money in Canada right now, but also Americans with the strong US dollar right now. It's more advantageous to come up to Canada and spend your vacation time relative to other mountain towns in the United States, particularly in Colorado. And then there's a proven track record for market price growth. So we'll take a little, not a deep dive, but just a little dive into the Canmore market. In particular, we'll look at the Canmore apartment condo median sale price growth over the last 5 years. So between 2020 to 2024, looking at everything that's sold in Canmore for an a condo apartment, we're seeing on average a 10% price increase per year. And as you can see by the chart, that is very steady at 10% each and every year over the past 5 years. And even in 2025, where the economy is slowing down a little bit, the year-to-date median sale price is up 8.6% relative to 2024. So an excellent market. And keep this number in mind when we when we go through the actual financials and our predictions on equity appreciation. We're only using a very conservative price increase of 5% in those figures. But what's actually happening is double that. So the types of zoning in the Bow Valley area. So we're excluding Banff, where occupants must meet Park Canada's eligibility requirements, the need to reside requirement. So we're excluding Banff from this presentation. But general zoning for Canmore and Deadman's Flats and Harvey Heights, excuse me. And keep in mind, there's slight variations for Canmore because Deadman's Flats and Harvey Heights are actually in the municipal district of Bighorn, so slightly different zoning than Canmore. But effectively in all of those, you're looking at residential zoning for those who live full-time or long-term rental properties. There's visitor accommodation, so for short-term rentals with limits on the length of stay. So my particular condo, the Sparrowhawk Lodge, is a visitor accommodation, and we're allowed to stay there for up to 75 days at a time, and then it needs to turn over. And then there's the tourist home, which allows for short-term rentals, long-term rentals, or you could live in the home full-time. It's the most flexible, but it's also the most expensive zoning out there. The property prices are the most expensive. And then you've got employee housing. So those properties are restricted to those who work 20 plus hours per week in the area. And the housing prices for those are less money. So if you see, very similar apartments, if you're scrolling on realtor.ca and one's priced at 800 and another's priced at 400, the 400,000 one is very likely an employee housing. It's not zoned for short-term rental properties. Some of the advantages relative to long-term rentals. The short-term rentals offer dynamic pricing. So you're constantly changing pricing with demand with very high nightly rates. There's multiple income streams with guest turnover. Easier tenant management. And what I mean by that is you don't have to worry about evicting people because they're only staying for a short period of time. For those Ontario investors, I hope you're not running into this, but we're seeing a lot more of what we call professional tenants, tenants that sound great on paper. They move in, whether they pay rent or not. If you're selling your property, there's people that stop paying rent. It's almost impossible to get them evicted, and especially in a short matter of time. It often takes 6 months or more, even more than a year, I've found, to get people evicted. So there's a lot of risk in long-term rentals right now, specifically in Ontario, uh, where the landlord-tenant board is favoring tenants more than it is in investors, in my opinion. So there's, like I said, lower risk in non-payment, more frequent inspections of the property condition. So after every guest turnover, at the very minimum, you've got your cleaners going in to take a look at the property. Josh will talk a little bit more about this, but essentially, they often have a checklist looking for damage or damage to your property. Or I don't know, Josh, if you wanted to add anything about that, but
Yeah, for sure. We've got systems in place that ensure the protection of your property from a risk side of things. We got a exclusive relationship with a company called 3A where they don't have any other properties beyond ours, and we don't work with anyone else apart from their cleaning company. But we have set in stone certain checklist that they have to do. So when they go in, we take photographic evidence of every single clean. So this will actually show certain things like maybe there's a hairdryer there, there's the artwork, also how the unit looks prior to that guest going in, and then we can similarly see on the checkout. So this means we've got you sorted from a risk perspective of having to put more cash into the replenishment of anything through theft or damage. And that being said, Airbnb and VRBO have a $2 million umbrella insurance for anything that does come up. So you can be assured that your investment is in safe hands.
yeah, that's great. Thank you. A couple other points that I already touched on. And then last but not least, you get to enjoy the personal use of your vacation. So that's another huge added benefit of a short-term rental property, particularly in a beautiful place like the Bow Valley. So we'll talk about purchase purchase and closing costs. Beyond the purchase price, you're looking at a deposit. So the deposit is an amount that you pay upon signing the agreement to purchase, and it forms part of the closing price on closing. Then there's the adjustments for property tax, condo fees, and utilities. You've got your legal fees for the lawyer to close the transaction. Land transfer registration, again, much less than land transfer tax than in Ontario. You've got title insurance and legal disbursements. And then I've put a question mark on the GST and travel expenses. So I'll hit the travel expenses first. For my wife and I, traveling out to the Canmore area and looking at the different areas to invest in and seeing properties, of course, we ended up expensing those items because those were valid business expenses for the short-term rental property. And then GST. So just kind of mentioned with the CRA there, you can quite often defer the GST on the purchase price. So because it is a short-term rental property, there is GST applicable to the purchase price, unlike a residential property where there's no GST, or in Ontario, the HST. But an individual may claim a full input tax credit for the GST paid or payable on the purchase of the vacation property where the property is purchased for exclusive use, meaning 90% or more use in making taxable short-term rental with minimal personal use. So we recommend that you reach out to your accountant to fully discuss about the GST deferral, but also discuss whether you want to put it under your personal name or put it in a corporation. So there's a lot of different reasons that you'd want to talk to an accountant before purchasing a property. But on the GST portion, it's quite often deferred. So in my own personal situation, what we needed to do is, well, and this is what you would do as well if you're using it as a short-term rental. First, you create a business number with CRA. You then create a GST HST number with CRA, provide that number to your lawyer for closing, declare that it's being used as a short-term rental. You don't pay the GST on closing. And then when it comes to your first GST HST return, you simply claim the GST that would have been paid. And then you put it in as a full input tax credit. So the government does want to see that there is GST, but then you do the full input tax credit and it's a wash. You just don't pay it. Okay, so I'm going to use the example of my personal condo that we purchased. So you see down in the photos below, that's Sparrowhawk Lodge in Dead Man's Flats. Uh, like I said, it's a beautiful place that we love. We paid $576,000 for a one-bedroom condo, about 575 square feet, with a balcony, nice mountain view. And we paid a $30,000 deposit, which was due upon signing, uh, acceptance of the agreement. The closing costs were just under $700. The legal fees were just under $2,000. The land transfer registration was $657, and the title insurance and legal disbursements were $787. Again, we deferred the GST. We didn't pay the GST. So when you add up all those numbers, essentially the $576,000 purchase price came to a little under $580,000 altogether. Okay, now we're going to get into some actual examples of properties. We're going to provide you with examples of one bedroom, two bedroom, and three bedroom units in Canmore and Dead Man's Flats. We're going to provide you with a financial analysis that focuses on operating revenue and expense estimates, cash flow, cap rate, and equity appreciation over time. We're not going to be getting into ROI as it fluctuates considerably with various financing options. But if you're ever wanting to dig into the financials with either Josh or myself or both of us, beyond the purpose of this webinar, we're happy to meet with you and we're happy to dig up ROI figures that relate to how much you want to put down on the property and things like that. So we're going to provide equity appreciation examples based on fully leveraging your vacation property to maximize interest expenses. And as a disclaimer, we're using very accurate data here. So the examples themselves are properties that have very recently sold. All of them have sold this year. So we're using exact purchase price of those properties, the exact taxes, and the exact condo fees. And Josh, servicing over 30 different units in the area, has very specific figures. Josh, did you want to talk about where your figures come from?
Yeah, so actually, these data points are coming from specific properties that we have managed over the years. So I can speak to a little bit clearer when we're actually on the property itself, but this is real data, not necessarily saying that this is what it will get in year one, but this is showing what the potential of the properties can achieve with real data from our property portfolio.
Perfect, thanks. So we'll get right into it. So the first example, and again, if you're from Canmore, you probably know of all these buildings, but if you're in Ontario, these will be new to you. So the first example that we're going to use is Stone Ridge Mountain Resort. So Stone Ridge Mountain Resort is located in Canmore. It was built in 2010. There's 110 units and it's zoned hotel condo. There's a mix of one bedroom, two bedroom, and three bedroom units. Some of the amenities include a year-round pool, a hot tub, dry sauna, cafe, a gym. There's a games library type room, a banquet hall. So it's fully accessorized with plenty of amenities. They do have an on-site property manager, and or you can partner with an independent property manager as well. So I'll show you some photos on Stone Ridge. Is there anything like you'd like to add about this one, Josh? I know you've got some rentals here.
We've got four properties here, a mix of one, two bedrooms. There's obviously three bedroom options as well right now. What I would like to say about Stone Ridge is a very sought after resort. So if you see something come in the market, you have to be prepared to act quickly. Typically, you will see it on the market for 1 to 2 days before it is conditionally or unconditionally sold. It's a four-star resort. It's managed well. It seems to have quite a healthy, the condo docs suggest a healthy cash reserve, and it's well run. You can see that from the images here, and in the hallways, it's run and maintained very well.
Yeah, this is a spectacular option. It really is a nice resort. Um, as you can see there, it's very modern, beautiful views. It's yeah, it's a really great spot. So we'll get into some of the figures here. So the example here is a 3-bedroom unit at Stone Ridge. There was a unit that sold for, so starting on the right-hand side, it's going to be a little bit out of order here, but under the financing notes and assumptions, this particular unit, not in the photos, but the example that we have here, sold for $1.655 million. We're assuming a 4% mortgage rate, 30-year amortization. And so depending on whether you're putting 30% down, 20% down, or zero, the annual mortgage and interest payments can be $66,000 for 30% down, $75,000 for 20% down, up to $94,000 a year with 0% down. And then again, on the right-hand side under the notes, some of the estimates we're using is that we're estimating 68% occupancy and 60 annual turnovers for a 3-bedroom unit at Stone Ridge. Net operating income, net income before financing, interest, and tax. We're not factoring in travel expense write-offs. We're assuming for all of these examples here that we're doing personal bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is quite simple for something like this. And of course, these are pro forma financials. Of course, they're very accurate, but we can't guarantee any actual results, and results may differ. So for a unit like this, you're looking at an average nightly rate of about $473, and that differs from $224 in the off season, and then up to $919, even up to about $1,000 in the peak season of the summer. And then looking at the revenue expenses, the estimated revenue is about $155,000. Cleaning fee is charged to the guest, so almost $11,000 in cleaning fees over the year. There's the GST, so for a total revenue of almost $175,000. And then as we go through the expenses, you back the GST and the cleaning fee back out. There's the Airbnb service fee, which is about 3%, so $5,000. Property rental, property management fee of 15% to Rise co-host, so that's $22,500. Management fee GST is about $1,100. On a 3-bedroom unit, you're looking at about $2,900 in restocking fees, about $800 in maintenance. The actual figure for the condo fees was $16,032. The actual figure for property taxes, I believe it was last year, was $12,014. Insurance is going to cost you roughly $2,200. That'll vary, of course. So you're looking at about $81,000 in operating expenses for a net operating income of $92,000, almost $93,000. So when you look at that relative to what you're paying in your mortgage payments, you're basically cash flow positive with zero down. You're right there within a couple of $1,000s. If you're putting 20 or 30% down, you are definitely cash flow positive. And this comes out to a cap rate of approximately 5.6%. Josh, is there anything I might have missed there, or anything you'd like to add to the financials for Stone Ridge?
No, I'm going through all of these financials. You could assume we mentioned about the peak season between that May long weekend and Thanksgiving weekend in October. You could see around that 65 to 70% of your revenue over that time. And then with one note on a caveat on our management fee, where the rental revenue is there, we actually take off the Airbnb service fee before we're timesing with 15%. If you're just wondering why that number isn't accurately calculating, and that's on the rental revenue. We're not taking it off the gross revenue.
Perfect. Thank you. So we'll get into some equity appreciation estimates here. So some assumptions is that we're looking at 0% down payment, only the closing costs. So fully leveraging your investment. And of course, some might be sitting on the webinar saying there's no way I'd ever fully leverage. There's some pros and cons to both that we're not really going to get into tonight. But again, we'd be happy to talk to you about the financing side of things and how much money you'd want to put down on something like this. And of course, that would be a conversation with your financial advisor or your lender as well. But for the purposes of this, we're assuming zero down payment, so a fully leveraged investment, 30-year amortization, assuming a 4% mortgage interest rate, and a very, very, very conservative estimated property value increase of 5% per year. And remember back that Canmore is actually performing at 10% per year appreciation over the last 5 years. So looking at 5-year estimated increase in equity when accounting for mortgage principal pay down and property value appreciation, you're looking at about $515,000. In 10-year, that increase in equity would be about 1.263 million. In 15 years, you're looking at a little over 2.2 million in appreciation. And in 20 years, over 3.4 million in appreciation. Okay, our second example. So we're going to move over to Falcon Crest Lodge, which is very close to Stone Ridge. Falcon Crest is also located in Canmore along the Bow Valley Trail. A lot of short-term rental zoning in that area. This one was built in 2005, but extensively renovated in 2018. There's 108 units, and it's zoned hotel condo as well. This one actually has some bachelor, so hotel style bachelor units. There's 1-bedroom units and 2-bedroom units as well. Amenities include 2 hot tubs, a gym, a restaurant. There's a courtyard and a great location, of course. There is an on-site property manager, Cleek, or you could partner with an independent property manager like Josh at Rise Co-host. Josh, is there anything else you wanted to add about Falcon Crest?
No, again, it's you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's adjacent to Stone Ridge, a little bit closer to downtown Canmore. As a property, it's got good amenities, not as top tier as Stone Ridge, but that also be reflected in the pricing. But the renovation's been done very nice, and some of our units here are some of our best performance units in all of Canmore.
Perfect. So just a few photos there of it. Okay, we'll get into the figures. So the example here, we're using a 2-bedroom unit in Falcon Crest. And over to the notes and assumptions. So this is, there was a unit that sold for $880,000 earlier this year, 2-bedroom unit for $880,000. And again, we're assuming a 4% mortgage rate. Based on that, with 30% down, the annual mortgage is about $35,000. With 20% down, you're looking at $40,000. And with nothing down, you're looking at $50,000 a year in interest, your mortgage payments, principal and interest. Okay. With a Falcon Crest 2-bedroom, we estimate about 80% occupancy and 72 annual turnovers. And the average nightly rate is about $310. On the low end, in the off seasons, you're looking at $135 a night on average. And then in the peak seasons, you're looking at just about $600 a night now for this type of property. On the revenue side, we're looking at a total revenue of about $108,000 a year. And then on the operating expense side, you're looking at about $60,000 for net operating income of just under $50,000. So again, even with 0% down, you're not quite there, but you're almost break even. It provides a cap rate of approximately 5.5% with and a cash flow positive with minimal down payment. And then if I were to scroll through the expenses a little bit, I'm not going to go line by line, but a couple of things to point out is the condo fees, $14,645. So that was the actual condo fee for this particular unit that sold. Property taxes were exact. Insurance, you're a little bit less than a 3-bedroom unit, so we're estimating $2,000. And restocking, a little bit less than what you would have as for a 3-bedroom unit. Anything else you wanted to add on that, Josh?
No, again, I think we kind of mentioned everything. But as I mentioned before, these data figures are taken from actual properties that we are managing. So yeah, you could be rest assured if you're getting something like this is a very good estimate of what you could be potentially achieving.
Yeah, and I'll just mention in case I forget later, we're going to go through 2 more examples here. We're going to get to a 1-bedroom unit at Grand Rockies and a 1-bedroom unit at Sparrowhawk Lodge in Deadman's Flats. But if you decide that you want to start looking in the Canmore area, or you're curious, if you say, geez, Falcon Crest is great, but I want a 3-bedroom at Falcon Crest, I could absolutely put together, show you past listings of what have sold for a 3-bedroom at Falcon Crest, and Josh can put together more accurate figures to Falcon Crest from a rental perspective. So we could adjust these figures for a whole bunch of different scenarios, but hopefully by adding four scenarios into the presentation tonight, it gives you a good idea. Okay, so on to the equity appreciation estimates for a two-bedroom at Falcon Crest. Again, 0% down, 30-year amortization, 4% mortgage interest, and a conservative estimate of 5% per year increase in property value. In 5 years, the estimated increase in equity, taking a look at mortgage principal pay down and property value appreciation, you're looking at almost $275,000 in 5 years. In 10 years, you're looking at over $670,000 in appreciation. In 15 years, over 1.17, almost 1.175. And in 20 years, a little over 1.8 million in appreciation. So excellent return on your investment. Now we're going to get into a one-bedroom example, but first we'll talk about the resort. It's Grand Rockies Resort. It's also located in Canmore, a little up from the other two resorts that we talked about. It was built in 2010. There's 150 units on the property. It's zoned hotel condo. There's one bedroom, two bedroom, and three bedroom units. Amenities include an indoor water park. So there's an indoor pool. As you can see in the picture down there, there's a pool slide. And what you can't really see there, well, you could see a little touch of it, but there is an indoor hot tub that kind of walks out to an outdoor hot tub, like it's an indoor-outdoor type of thing. So you can be inside or outside with that one. It's, in my opinion, it shows a little bit older than the last two resorts that we talked about, but it's a great one for families. So if you have young kids and you're heading out to the area, it's really great because of that little water park inside. It also has an on-site property management company, Bellstar, or you can partner with an independent property manager. Anything you wanted to add there about Grand Rockies, Josh?
Yeah, so currently they're undergoing extensive renovations in the hallway. So once they're all finished, it will bring this bike up to a really nice finish. Actually, probably newer and nicer than the other two aforementioned resorts. It's central location, so within a 5 minute walk, you're going to be in downtown Canmore, very close proximity to any of the transits as well around the area. And as you mentioned, it's a family-friendly resort. So going into the financials here, we'll show specific data of a one bedroom. But that being said, the sale price for this one was an unrenovated finish, whereas the revenues are showing from a renovated finish with a new bathroom, new flooring, new paint job, and new furnishings. So just keep that in mind. You may see the cap rate a little bit higher, but I would assume you would have to do maybe a $20,000 to $30,000 renovations to get up to that potential revenues that you're seeing here in the example.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Josh. And I will say for all of these examples, the units that have sold, the photos that I'm showing in the presentation may not have been from that exact unit. So you bring up a good point there, Josh. This particular one here, you can see the kitchen cabinets, those are original. The flooring's been replaced. And in this particular resort, the original showers, we call them the spaceship showers. There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of lights and jets and different things, but they have had some issues. And if you are purchasing one of the units with that type of shower, you're looking at like a short-term renovation. I think you said they're what, about $17,000, Josh?
Yeah, for a one bedroom, getting it taken out and doing all the plumbing work, a custom tile, a walk-in shower was 17,000 for one bedroom and around 30,000 for the two bedroom, two bath. So just keep that in mind that sometimes the sale price in these Grand Rockies are a little bit less because they do need that touch up.
Yeah. So looking at various price points for the different units, if you're an investor and you want to be pretty hands off without a renovation, finding something with the shower replaced, I'd say more than half of them have been replaced now anyways. But that'll certainly help. Or if you're local in the area, you have local contacts and you could get one at a good price and do the renovations and spice up these rooms. This could be a very good opportunity. So get into this one. This one sold for 620. The example here sold for $627,000, which is the one bedroom unit. And again, looking at 30%, 20%, or 0% down, the annual mortgage and interest payments would be 25,000 for 30%, 28,000 for 20%, or up to $35,000 a year for 0% down. You estimate about 80% occupancy and 83 annual turnovers on a unit like this, and the average nightly rate being about $242, 135 on the low end in the off seasons, and then up to almost $450 average in the peak seasons. So looking at the revenue, we're looking at almost $83,000 in revenue, and then expenses on the expense side, just under $41,000. Condo fees for a one bedroom, you're looking at $6,500 a year. Property taxes just under $5,000. Insurance at about $1,700. And then when you break it all down to the net operating income, you're looking at about $42,000 per year, which gets you to a cap rate of approximately 6.7%. So again, we might be slightly off on the purchase price relative to the revenue figures for this particular unit. But even if you pay a little bit higher purchase price for a more modern unit in this building, your cap rate is still probably in around that 6% range with positive cash flow, even with 0% down.
One thing I would like just to mention before we go on. So we mentioned a mixture of 3, 2, and 1 bedroom units in Canmore. So roughly there's around 2,500 Airbnb short-term rental type properties here in Canmore in the Bow Valley. 1,400 are a 2 bedroom property. So it is by far the most competitive market. 3 bedrooms, it's much less saturated, around a 2 to 300. I think it's around 300 right now. And then the 1 bedrooms are around 700, and then filling in with a few 4 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms. From looking at safety of an ROI, a 1 bedroom is a very nice proposition with a lower closing cost and purchase price with very good cash flow rates. That being said, the revenues can be obviously will be higher in the 2 and 3 bedrooms, but may not be as easy to achieve in that 2 bedroom, 2 bath, just down to the competition.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to move down the road about 10 minutes to Dead Man's Flats. Oh, sorry, we're not yet. We're going to look at the equity appreciation figures first. So same assumption as the other two properties. 5-year estimated increase in equity, you're looking at almost $200,000 increase in 10 years, almost $500,000 in 15 years, you're $836,000 appreciation, and in 20 years, you're looking at 1.2, almost $1.3 million in capital appreciation. And now we're going to move on a little bit down the road to Sparrowhawk Lodge. So this is the building again that I have a 1 bedroom condo at. About 8 to 10 minutes from town center in Canmore. And you'll see when we get into the financials, we estimate a little bit less revenue because of it being out of town. But yeah, Sparrowhawk. So it's located in Dead Man's Flats. It was built in 2024. There's 107 units. It's zoned visitor accommodation. So you can stay up to 75 days at a time. So if my wife and I want to go, we're looking at that amount of time, and then we have to turn it over. But of course, we're using it as a full-time short-term rental property. There are 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom units. Amenities include a year-round pool and hot tub, which is fantastic. It's got the great gym. There's an on-site cafe and liquor store. There's ski and bike storage down in the underground parking. And we have a storage locker, of course. So this one does not have an on-site property manager, and all of the different units are managed independently by property managers like Josh with Rise Co-host. And the link there is on Josh's website for my actual unit. So you see a little picture of the pool and the hot tub there. And we've got to update those winter photos. Got to put winter behind us. But yeah, it's a beautiful spot. Anything else you wanted to add about Sparrowhawk? Anything I missed there, Josh?
No, as a new listing, a new property, it's been constructed very, very well. Down with it being in Dead Man's Flats, there's a little bit more space, so They've got large amenity rooms. You mentioned the gym facility is definitely by far the best in the whole Bow Valley. And also in the parkade, there's two big selling features I like for a potential owner. One of which is going to be selling a secure bike and ski locker area. Enough as skis can be hung up for as 80, and I think it's around 50 bikes. And then also within the parking solutions, because you're in a small hamlet of Deadman's Flats, there isn't much street parking. So they have really thought this through and have implemented 50% extra spots per unit. So you're not going to have any of that risk about where can my 3 bedroom property, all 3 cars, guests park, because there is ample parking. And yeah, Distinctive Homes who built it have done a fantastic job.
Yeah, I'll just add too. For my wife and I, when we went out to visit, we weren't too familiar with the Dead Man's Flats area. We'd always just been in Canmore, and we weren't sure whether that was a location for us. But for us, the revenue figures all make sense. Like from an investment perspective, it all made sense. But we actually like the fact that it's a little away from the hotspot tourist area. There's beautiful trails along the river. There's even a campsite pretty much next door. So you could keep a tent and different items in your storage locker. We've got all the kids' sports equipment and everything. I mentioned that there's the outdoor hockey rink and basketball courts that you could go use. So there's really a lot that you could do right in that area and then enjoy the 2024 build, brand new pool, hot tub gym, and all that type of stuff. So we really love this property. And here's some photos of the inside of our unit. So again, you're getting very nice modern finishes, a couple big screen TVs, and yeah, it's a really great spot. Okay, but numbers talk. So let's see the numbers. So the purchase price, this my actual unit, $576,000. Fully leveraged at 4%. We're looking at about $23,000 a year with 30%. If you're sorry, if you're doing 30% down, $26,000 if you're putting down 20%, or in our case, we've decided to fully leverage it. So $32,000 a year in mortgage and interest payments. We're estimating 87% occupancy rate. I could tell you we're doing better than that right now, even before peak season, with 93 annual turnovers, and the average nightly rate being about $186 on average, 87 in the off season, up to we've got 370 on average in the peak season. I could tell you we're seeing a lot of nights at over $400 right now, which is great. I believe the rental revenues here, so we're at $62,000 just looking at the base rent. I believe our example for a 1 bedroom in Canmore, what was it? A little over 70,000, right, Josh?
71, correct.
71. Yeah. So a little about $10,000 less being away from the town center in Canmore. So your total revenue being just under $74,000, your operating expenses being just under $40,000 for a net operating income of $34,000. And when we look over to the mortgage and interest payments, you are cash flow positive and with a cap rate of approximately 6%. And then looking at the condo fees, breaking out the expenses a little bit, condo fees are $6,400 a year, property taxes, $5,200 a year, and insurance at about $1,700. And then looking at the equity appreciation estimates. So again, the same assumptions as before, but with a 5-year estimated increase in equity, the increase you're looking at about $180,000. The 10-year increase looking at mortgage principal pay down and property value appreciation, just under $440,000. In 15 years, $768,000. And in 20 years, you're looking at almost $1.2 million in appreciation. Okay. Anything else you wanted to add about the financials before we get into the buying process, Josh?
No, I think we kind of discussed everything. I may go into it a little bit later during my presentation as well.
Perfect. Okay. So the buying process, very straightforward breakdown of it is just defining your goals and your budget. So working with your financial advisor or your lender to figure out what you can be approved for. We'll talk a little bit about financing options, but we won't get into too much detail tonight on that. Assembling your professional team to help you out, deciding on location, Your property search, so actually starting your property search and evaluating different opportunities and different properties. And then when you get to the property you like, submitting an offer and negotiating the transaction. Once you have a conditional agreement, assuming it's a conditional agreement on a property, doing your due diligence, getting your financing firmed up, having your condo documents checked, and that sort of thing. So firming up the conditions, finalizing the closing and financing details, and then preparing your property for rental. So Josh will talk a little bit about that in the property management portion, but it's getting it up and getting it ready to go. And I could tell you firsthand, being here in Ontario, having Josh has been absolutely fantastic because once the property was ours, it was basically a nice handoff to Josh, and him and his team got it ready, got staging items, photos, took care of absolutely everything. So I won't spoil your presentation there, Josh, but
Don't
uh,
worry.
it could be a complete handoff for you. So assembling your team. First, we start out with a mortgage agent or financial advisor. There's a few different financing options for you. Again, we're not going to talk too much about this, but I'd be referring this on to those professionals. But the first option is using a home equity line of credit. So using equity built up in your principal residence and financing the home that way. So just getting a line of credit that you could use to purchase whatever property you'd like. Looking at the banks, a lot of the main banks don't don't work with short-term rental properties. So most of the major banks don't. However, the local TD and CIBC branches know these investments. They understand, they know that they're A caliber investments. So they will work with you. So we could provide you with those contacts. There's also alternative lenders. A lot of alternative lenders will work with you, like Equitable Bank, and Strive Capital. So beyond this presentation, we're happy to get you in touch with people to assess whether this is a feasible venture for you. Of course, the real estate agent, happy to help you, and I'm happy to meet with you and discuss your goals with you. I also work closely with boots on the ground. I'm with Keller Williams Bold in Calgary, but also have a close contact with Rachel Huggins with Remax Alpine. She's absolutely fantastic and helped us with our property. So highly recommend Rachel. She's amazing. And I know some of you found out about this presentation from Rachel. So thank you, Rachel. And thanks for joining us today if you know Rachel. Property manager, well, we've got Josh here. What else can we say? Um, and then for the Ontario investors, things are a little bit different in Alberta when it comes to condo review. So in Ontario, we're used to just sending the condo documents, the status certificate documents to your lawyer. In Alberta, lawyers generally don't handle that. So there's companies like Condo Check, Alberta Condo Review, to review those documents for you just to make sure that the condo is in good standing. And then, of course, a home inspection and working with a lawyer for the completion of the transaction. I worked with Rod with Stringham Law in Canmore. Stringham was amazing to work with, and I'd recommend them as well, among others, of course. Okay, so now we're actually going to talk about one new build opportunity, and then I'm going to walk you through a couple of different active listings that are out there in the market. So there's a new build opportunity that's coming soon in Deadman's Flats. So it's just a couple of properties away from Sparrowhawk Lodge and Copperstone, which is in Deadman's Flats. There's approximately 175 units going in there, consisting of visitor accommodation, flexible accommodation, and commercial. I believe there's a restaurant. Do you know much about this one, Josh? I think there's a restaurant going in here.
Yeah, we're planning to do a restaurant in there, and there's also in Denman's Flats, there's going to be another resort coming up with a new restaurant. So Denman's Flats, even though right now there's not many services, there's the cafe and the liquor store and a couple of gas stations. Over the years coming, there'll be a couple of restaurants helping bolster that little town as well.
Yeah. So the other one you're referring to is Cliff Resort,
Right.
which is sold out now. Um, in fact, I don't mean to digress, but there's a meeting at 8 o'clock tonight with the Municipal District of Bighorn. Not sure if you're going on that meeting, Josh, about leasing out the property beside Sparrowhawk for parking of the construction vehicles and overflow parking. But anyways, I digress. I'll be jumping on that later tonight. But yeah, Dead Man's Flats, there's going to be a couple of new resorts going in there, which is a great opportunity for you if you're looking at investing in the area. Again, Cliff Resort is already sold out, but this could be an amazing opportunity. And this would pretty much be the end of the buildup of Dead Man's Flats. I think there might be one other property,
Yeah.
but not a lot more land there to be developed for short-term rentals. Um, so here we go. Amenities, there will be a pool, there's going to be bike storage, a gym, underground parking, and it's expected to be released. It was spring 2025. I think May was the last conversation about that, which will probably turn into late summer, if not the fall. But anyone who's interested, we could keep you up to speed on that one. And then we'll talk about a couple of different active listings that are on the market right now. So a featured one-bedroom unit at Golden Ridge on Mountain Ave in Canmore. It's a one-bedroom plus an office, one bathroom, 614 square feet, priced at $800,000, built in 2024. Amenities include a rooftop hot tubs, a sauna, and a fitness center. So a really nice development. This listing courtesy of Royal LePage Solutions. Anything you wanted to add on Golden Ridge at all, or?
Yeah, it's a new build you mentioned there, 2024, high quality finish. So one thing I like to know about all these properties being listed right now, it's a strong time to get into it. It's the end of spring going into summer. If you want to make sure you're going into a strong financial year, not going into the red at all. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to have 70% roughly of your revenue between May to October. So by getting in this time, it really does help your cash flow. So you're not having to go into the red, maybe in some of the shoulder season months. It just gives you a strong start to your financial year.
Perfect. Okay, our second featured listing. So this is a two-bedroom unit at Copperstone Resort. So I haven't talked about Copperstone yet, but this is directly beside the new building at Sparrowhawk in Deadman's Flats. This particular unit is a two-bedroom, two-bathroom unit, 1,121 square feet, priced at $685,000. You notice the price is a lot lower than most of the units we've talked about, especially for a two-bedroom. Built in 2008, amenities include a hot tub, fitness center, central fire pit. It is a lovely resort. It's a great location. It's a little bit older than Sparrowhawk, so the price point's a little bit down. It's outside of Canmore. So this is actually a very good opportunity if you're looking at entering the market. And oh, I was going to say, so even for a one bedroom, you're definitely not getting a one bedroom in Canmore for under $500,000 anymore, but that is feasible in Dead Man's Flats at Copperstone Resort. And it is a really nice resort. So if the budget is under $500,000, there still is an opportunity for you. And Josh, did you want to mention anything else about Copperstone? I know you've got a couple of properties that you manage there.
So yeah, we've managed 4 or 5 properties over the years here. A couple have actually actualized the move with Sparrowhawk or different newer buildings. What I would like to say is this two bedroom, two bath at 1,100 square foot price per square foot. You're not going to get better than this anywhere else. And Copperstone Resort, they've done some renovations, updating of the hallways and the hot tub recently. So it is looking quite nicely. One thing to note, the condo fees are quite high here because they do pay for the front desk. But that being said, your lower purchase price is definitely going to offset any costs from that potentially higher condo fees.
All right. And this listing courtesy of Remax Alpine Realty. And then we're going to get back to Sparrowhawk here. So this is a three-bedroom unit that's currently listed for sale, unless it just sold in the last day or so, but I haven't seen that come through. So three-bedroom, two-bathroom at Sparrowhawk. It's 1,211 square feet. This one's located on the pool side, so you could actually see the pool, but it's got great views of the mountain as well. A nice corner unit built in 2024. It's priced at 1.312 million. And again, the amenities here is their year-round pool. That's a huge attraction for people. Year-round pool and hot tub, fitness center, just the new modern finishes. So it's a really, really nice listing. This one's courtesy of CIR Realty. And the last one, this is not a short-term rental property. So I know the meeting's been focused on short-term rental properties, but I just wanted to highlight a great listing of a vacation home. So if you're just looking for a secondary home, something that you're not wanting to rent out on a short-term basis, but just visit the Canmore area, whenever you feel like it, and don't want others living in your home. This one is at 106 Stewart Creek Rise, Unit 205. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom unit, 939 square feet, priced at $925,000. It was built in 2020, so a nice new building. Amenities include a storage locker, underground parking. It is, and again, it's not zoned for short-term rental property. So a really nice listing. And this one's courtesy of Rachel Huggins with Remax Alpine Realty. Okay, so just to summarize things on the investment side, and then we'll move to the everything you need to know about the property management side and how Josh operates, Rise co-host. Um, Really, it's all about investing, earning, and enjoying. So you can invest with little to no down payment. You can earn positive cash flow and build equity all at the same time and build wealth over time. And then you could enjoy your property. You can enjoy your investment. You use your own vacation investment property as much or as little as you want. The more you use it, the less you'll earn. But of course, it's yours. So get out there and enjoy it. And just as a final top off, I'm going to mention there's a couple of reviews there. One of the coolest things about owning a short-term rental property and having it managed through someone like Josh with Rise co-host is I can actually see, well, one, the reviews, but I could see the conversations happening between Josh and his team and the guests. And I could tell you, it just warms your heart. Almost every day, you get these amazing comments from your guests. A couple here, Alice, a few weeks ago. The place was spotless and we felt right at home. By the way, Josh's cleaners are phenomenal. Every time we have a guest come to our place, they talk about how clean it is and how amazingly spotless it is. So Alice mentioned that as well. And then you had Valerie talking about how clean and comfortable the home was. So yeah, having an investment, earning income, building wealth, and getting all these great comments, it really is amazing. And of course, I won't sugarcoat things. I think we've had one person leave the property in less than desirable condition. Josh will talk a little bit about how that's handled, but that's the very rare case, and it's a really good, feel-good investment. So with that said, I'll hand things over to you, Josh, and you could get going with the property management side of things.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to kind of go through a brief brochure, kind of what to expect if you're going with an independent property manager. And this is going obviously very tailored towards my company, Rise Co-host. So we've been in business now for close to 5 years in the Bow Valley, and we don't branch out beyond this. We know the market here. We specialize in the market. We're locals, and we think this is going to offer a more authentic experience to our guest staying and also to our clients who are the property owners. So we're kind of just going to go into the table of contents. So it's going to break down into who we are, our story and our team, what we do, all of our services, and how we do it, how we execute, and then how it'll work for you to build your trust. So going into Rise Co-host, Emma, my wife, and I in 2020 had an opportunity to essentially start this business. And my background is finance with investment analysis, but I had been working hospitality for a long time, and so my wife, and we had this opportunity to manage a property, and I could see it was such a unique market, being the proximity it is to Calgary, the amount of tourists that come through to Banff every single year and to Canmore now. And that note, there's going to be 8 million tourists expected annual this year between Banff and Canmore. So it just shows you the absolute volume, even if there's going to be an increase of property supply, that the supply and demand, the demand is always going to be there. So about us is Emma and myself. Emma is, and I have been traveling over 40 countries. We know through staying at hotels, Airbnbs along the way, what makes or breaks your stay. So we want to elevate your property of top tier guest experience where every detail is meticulously attended to. High quality quick cleaning services, Jeff mentioned there. We do have an exclusive relationship with our a cleaning company called 3A, and they're fantastic. It's a grueling industry, that cleaning. They got between 11 and 4 every single day to go in and do their work, and they kind of upwards of 30 cleans in one day. So they're efficient and they are effective. But us as a company, we ensure there's regular maintenance, and I am a daily pricing nerd. I go on, I check the data. Essentially, I get that feel good factor when I can say I beat the market. And I am here to maximize your revenue. We also like to have more personalized touches. So we got a lot of affiliations with local companies from toiletries from Rocky Mountain Soap, coffee from Banff Roasting Company Coffee, and chocolates from Le Chocolatier. We like to do this to help the guest experience feel that authentic local touch and also promote some local businesses at the same time. We are a full service team, so let us handles all of us and all optimize your listings, and you guys can make a cash flow positive experience. And again, holding the second home has been a positive experience for yourself. Going into our team, Jeff kind of touched on it earlier. It's going to be myself, my wife Emma. We're the co-founders. We got Yanni, who's our director of operations. She will be there to help coordinate and liaise with any restock, any maintenance that's required, and also helps with the communications. We pride ourselves in our communication. You go through our Airbnb or VRBO, wherever you find the reviews. I know we mentioned earlier 93% have been 5-star overall. We've been a 97 to 98% 5-star communication. Really, really pride ourselves in that communication aspect. We also have a part-time worker, Noreen. She's your guest experience coordinator. She's in there validating and checking all cleans and also making sure your stock is at a desirable level, making sure that all guests are going to go in and have the expected experience. Lastly, we've got a contracted maintenance worker, Gord, who's with us 30 hours a month. What that will include for you guys as a property owner is quarterly inspections of your property. So essentially, he'll go in, he'll make sure he's got his checklist, he'll rhyme off anything he sees, he'll test the taps, he'll test the toilets, and any odds and ends things that he finds. Maybe there's a little patch in the wall that he needs to do, maybe the toilet seat needs to be tightened, the faucet needs to be tightened. We got you covered from them odds and ends. So just with the deterioration of your property, it's going to be caught. We're going to be proactive and not reactive and making sure your investment's in safe hands. And also by covering these little maintenance costs, you can ensure your margin is going to be as high as possible. So what we do for 15%, we are going to be a full service. That's going to be arrangement of house cleaning, quality control of that cleaning, design and set up of your unit. We can touch into that a little bit later on, but arrangement of any maintenance is needed, any renovation, stock control, 24/7 guest communication, guest screening. We can vet guests down to your risk tolerance, daily pricing analysis, where we're going to use real live data from the Canmore and surrounding areas about what's the average daily rate of the available properties this year, what's the occupancy rate, what was last year's occupancy rate. All these variables that come in to give us a price that is going to make sense and leave no cash on the table. We will do listing creation and optimization. That essentially means we will get the listing all set up and we will optimize it, ensuring that you guys are at the top of the search, getting a maximum exposure for maximum bookings. We'll give detailed monthly financial statements, making your bookkeeping even more simple. It's going to be a copy and paste job and given to your accountant, and at the end of the year, you're good to go. Regular on-site visits between myself and any of our team members. On top of our cleaners, we're going to essentially be there every single checkout, ensuring that we've got eyes visible for any things that may come up to keep your property safe. So how it works. So if you find a property that you're interested, we can find what your potential investment needs are, what's your investment output. We can recommend specific resorts, specific unit, bedroom unit types, etc. From there, we sign on a non-committal contract. Our contract is a 1-month exit clause. But I'll be honest, in our 5 years of operating, we've never lost a client apart from actualization of their investment. If a design is something that you're interested, we do offer a design program that's a 10% of all startup costs. But that can mean we can give you a bespoke looking unit. It's not going to be cookie cutter. It's not going to look like the unit next door to you. It's going to stand out against the crowd. One thing you may notice if you're ever looking to book an Airbnb here or VRBO, you may see a lot of the same units looking from the same resorts. And how is your property going to stand out? We know what the booking demographics in these short-term rental sites look for. And our units that we design are consistently in that 95th percentile in performance. Once it's all ready, we'll get the listing ready. We'll take photographs. We work with Canmore HT Photography. He is a great photographer, Trevor. He knows which angles to go for. He knows how to make a 600-foot square space look bright and expansive and larger than it is, and it really helps sell your place. From there, your involvement. You can be as involved as you want to be. If you want to be a fly on the wall, seeing all bookings coming in, seeing what that nightly rate is, seeing with reviews and the communication, you can. But also, if you just want to get that monthly deposit into your bank account, and this is to be a complete hands-off investment. That can be what you can do as well. And from there, it's cash flow. Like you probably start with your return on investment. And as I said, we provide detailed monthly spreadsheets followed by that cash deposit. So then if there's any questions, everything should be answered in that statement. Going into the design element, you'll be able to see just a few different examples of what we've done. So we can do a bespoke, what you kind of want yourself. If you saw the one, you can see the bottom picture here. The owner wanted more den, rustic cabin feel. So we made this custom headboard and we kind of kitted out the entire unit to have this sort of cozy den mountain cabin feel. Some of the other units here, you can see nice, bright, expansive with this sort of staging shot on the kitchen table. And similarly, we've even arranged stonemasonry work to do a custom stone fitting around the fireplace. All these little elements will be within your budget and your preference to deliver a product that you and the guests are happy with. As I mentioned earlier, it's a 10% total startup cost of all supplies and services required, but this will help elevate your listing and stand out amongst the crowd. So I mentioned before a little bit about the monthly reports. This is how it essentially will look like. We'll send you an invoice, and on that invoice you have this attachment. And it's an Excel spreadsheet, and I'll actually have a year-to-date statement with all these compiled, just where you can see easily where we are at financial this year with revenues and expenses. There'll be a little section at the bottom where you can add in all your fees that I'm not involved with, such as the mortgage, principal, pay down, etc. But it will break down this monthly spreadsheet, each booking line by line, booking by booking, so you can see what the cleaning fee is, the base rate, the taxes, the platform fee, our commission, the taxes, etc. It's just for full transparency. And then going in how we do it. So one thing that we like to do is use software. Software makes us smarter and ahead of the game. One thing is really good for is security. So between Neil/August locks or even into remote locks at other resorts like a Sparrowhawk, we like to have a smart lock. What this is going to do is have a custom code created for each guest stay. So 10 minutes before check-in, that code will become active, and 10 minutes after checkout, it becomes deactivated. So you know your property is secure. No one is going to be able to walk in there without a code being given to them. And also we will see a log of all access events. So at any one stage in time, we can see if it's our maintenance worker, the guest coming in, one of my cleaners, we can see what is going on at all times. Another software we use is called RankBreeze. This uses precise data to where your listing is actually appearing in Airbnb search results. So from there, we can fine tune and optimize your listing. And by doing so, we can bump your listing by finding what Airbnb or VRBO likes and push you into that top one page of the listing. Essentially, the more exposure you get with the eyes, the more bookings you're going to get. I use AirDNA, but I also use PriceLabs. PriceLabs is my dynamic pricing tool. It will give me a bunch of data on historical nightly rates, occupancy, future nightly rates, occupancy, and I can create my own algorithm within that software down to all these different factors, down to your financial goals, nightly minimums, etc. And we can create an algorithm that at midnight every single day will update the pricing with real data. So if the occupancy goes from 20% in one day to 40%, your listing will be affected by that and will give, again, no cash left on the table. Lastly, we use HostAway, offers a centralized calendar messaging system. So from there, we publish your listing on Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia, Google Vacations, Booking.com, Hopper, amongst others. Again, maximum exposure means maximum revenue. And from there, we can synchronize all that bookings, making sure no double bookings are coming in to affect your guest stay. One thing we haven't talked about now is which we'll go on to, is startup costs. Outside of any design, there are going to be startup costs. So that's going to be your bedding, your linens, your towels, and all consumables. There will be full transparency with this, but for the bedding, we recommend high quality white linens for a consistent clean look. This means if there's any little marks on it, our cleaners are able to see that straight away, get it marked and get it rectified. We also like to have 3 sets of all main bed turnovers. So if it's a 2-bed unit, we would like to have the main beds in each of them bedrooms having 3 sets and the pull-out sofa 2 sets. That just essentially ensures us ample turnovers. Just say there was an unfortunate stain or a damage, a rip, that we're not relying on that one seat to get washed and recycled for that next booking. It gives us a bit of leeway to get that all rectified for you. Similarly, we like to have 2 towel sets per guest. So if there's sleeping 4 guests in the unit, we like to have 8 towels for effective turnovers. Again, this will happen. Any unexpected things, blood, anything else like that on it, we can then give us time to replenish. Before we actually go ahead and execute this, we will give you a full transparency of a spreadsheet. This is your expected cost between bedding, towels, consumables, so you can financially plan for your startup. And kind of going into what our guests are actually saying. So, as I mentioned, we've had over 4,000 reviews now with 4.93 rating on Airbnb, a 9.3 rating on VRBO, and so on and so forth. We've got a trialed and tested method that is effective and works. These are just a couple of examples if you want to read them, but essentially, communication and cleaning is a big part of it. It does help when you live in one of the most beautiful places in Canada, which kind of sells itself and has the guest experience from right from the get-go at a good step. But if you want to actually check out our portfolio, on the next slide, you'll see a few listings, how your listing would actually look from a cover picture perspective. So again, we like to let our main picture stand out. So we got a nice selection of 3 of our favorite pictures from the listing, all in one picture. So when guests are scrolling through their phone, they can see ample pictures without clicking on your listing, knowing that this is going to be the property that they want to stay at. If you want to check that QR code, you can bring through the rest of our listings in Airbnb, see how the ratings really are. But you can see, apart from a couple, we're 4.9 and above in every single one. You can see a 5-star there, 4.99, 4.98, 4.97. We're consistently hitting that 4.9 mark. So yeah, that's it. A brief overview of Rice Co-host. Again, there is our QR code that'll bring you straight to our website. For any more information, you can find there. If anyone has any questions for myself or Jeff going in here, he did mention at the bottom screen, you have your raise hand feature if you like to say it verbally, or you can type in the chat and we'll be happy to assist with any questions. Jeff, anything to add there?
Perfect. No, I think that's great. I think you covered it, but that QR code, get on there. And if you're looking at getting out to the Canmore area, definitely book one of Josh's properties. Or mine, but like I said, Josh has over 30 listings, plenty of options out there, and you could save some of the fees by booking on his direct link. So I believe we have the chat open. We're happy to take any questions. I'm not seeing any right now, but we'll hang out here for a few more minutes while we're waiting for any questions that may come up. I just want to say on behalf of both Josh and I, thank you very much for joining our webinar. We hope it's been informative. What we're really hoping to do is literally lay it all out there, show you the exact process of purchasing a short-term rental property in the Canmore Bow Valley area, some of the benefits of doing so. And of course, on the real estate side, I'm happy to help you out. Like I said, I've got Rachel Huggins in Canmore, the boots on the ground. She's fantastic as well. Josh is happy to help you out, and we could get you in touch with all the other professionals that you might need. How about shared property, like a quarter shared? So yes, there are opportunities out there for fractional ownership in Canmore. There are plenty of opportunities out there, actually. From short-term rental side and property management, any thoughts on that, Josh?
You'll just have to be negotiated with the other shared owners, making sure that they're aware of this. But during essentially my understanding of any shared ownership on your quarter share, you're allowed to do so as you wish. So it'll just be down to that negotiation with the other owners about when your allotted time periods are in the calendar, and we can work around that.
Yes. So it depends on the property that you're looking at, but some have specified weeks of the year that are allotted to you for the fractional ownership. So yeah, it kind of depends on the situation, but we would be happy to look at specific opportunities for you and give you price points on those types of properties. But yes, we talked about Copperstone being a great opportunity to get into the market for under $500,000. But if we're talking a max budget of a couple $100,000 and you're looking for shared ownership, there are opportunities there. Okay, like I said, we'd be happy to get in touch with you. Please feel free to reach out to us. We'll send out a follow-up email afterwards to see if we could answer any further questions. But again, we thank you very much for joining us tonight and hope you'll have a great evening. Thanks again. And thank you, Josh.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.